Hold tight.
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libers. Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
Just what the flipping Nora are you all lot doing?
I'm still in there. I'm still right behind him.
It was just a very well thought out tactical plan by Danny.
I want goals!
I can literally feel the steam coming out your ears.
So it's like a fun little post-game snack.
The Wednesday Week! Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week. John's just completely thrown me by redesigning where he is, but we're all trying to find cold parts of our house during this entire heat wave that we're having. Although, in the plus side of things, Steve, you're killing me, man. On the plus side of things, just giggling at John rearranging his camera. On the plus side of things, I've managed to get 2 loads of washing done today, so that's nice, isn't it? I'm back after a brief hiatus last week. What did I miss? Everything all right? Everything good? Because it doesn't seem like much has been going on. A bit of silence from the club. Didn't get any updates apart from Carabao Flavours, Chaz. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, all quiet. Yeah, all fine. If you delete Twitter, everything's fine.
It's weird, isn't it? I was thinking that. I thought, do I need this? Do I need this in my life? Is this something that's happening? We've got a lot to get through. Turns out Adam Shaw or Mandaric weren't the men that we thought they were, or had the money that we thought they had. Shooketh and horror. At this point, I should have played a clip from 2 weeks ago, shouldn't I? And I'm better than that. I'm better than that. Although that would have been a great place to put it right there, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? That'd have been great. Tonight, joining me, I've got John, I've got Stevie, I've got Charlie. We've got another timeline of terror to get through. So, welcome to the what do I call this episode? The Missing Payday Massacre. I was well happy with that. Well happy with that. John, it's warm, isn't it?
Oh, Jesus, man! I saw something on Facebook today. It says I'm sweating like your baby father trying to spell gorgeous. I like just about sums it up, man.
I don't even get that joke. Stevie, anything?
I've got no, mate. I have nothing.
It's too hot for me to laugh at an obscure John joke. I must admit, yeah. Rogue John gag.
yeah.
I struggle keeping up with my own. How are you, Chaz? You all right? Your dog sitting? No, you got the dog. Where's the dog? Show dog.
I'm not sure where he is. Rupert? I don't know where he is. I've got some blooch. We're all good. It's all fine. We're having a good time.
Sorry, blooch.
I want them to sponsor us, so I brought the bottle.
Oh, Blue Hooch.
Oh, wow.
Blue Hooch.
Please sponsor us.
Now, Chaz, you will not remember this because obviously you'd have just been getting born around this time, but like a circa 1995, right? These two lads are old enough to remember that Hooch was the first one. It was the first one. It changed the drinking on the park game, did Hooch. It was the absolute daddy of everything. And then Smirnoff Ice came along and blew it out of the water. There was a brief flirtation with what was it called? Two Dogs, the snide Hooch that we used to have. And then we realized we could just get boshed up on White Lightning and Special Red and what we're pissing about with Alka-Pops for. Remember them days, Stevie? Or were you old enough to drink them when Hooch came out?
Yeah, I was old enough to drink. I can remember working at Stonehouse. Hooch was the go-to. You get at Stonehouse, which I believe is still standing, isn't it? Because they can't do it with it because it's a listed building. But...
Brilliant.
Yeah, I was thingy as well, weren't they? Do you remember Mets? That drink.
Oh, the Judder, man. That is a reference that no one's ever got that I've chucked out for 20 years and nobody ever remembers the Judder, man. I'll send you some links later on, Chaz, so you know what the F we're talking about. As you can tell, I'm padding here to not talk about the bad things. So let's get into it before I'm an absolute waif and I lose 2 kgs in sweat while we're here. Don't forget to get in touch. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Get involved in the comments. Steve is going to be reading them out this evening. Now, Monday the 23rd of June, John, Rangers were reportedly interested in Sal Bibbo, our goalkeeping coach, and billionaire John Textor linked with the move to buy Sheffield Wednesday after selling his Crystal Palace stake. Now, I know that that's still up in the air given the plight of Leon, but that for me seems like easy journalism. Rich man who works in football is free. Oh, it's going to get linked with Wednesday. It's just, you can see the math there, can't you, right?
You can. And obviously, when he's making statements like he's stepping away from Leon, I mean, who's not going to step away from Leon there?
I don't think he had a choice.
To focus on his next project, which is in English. football team. And so, like you said, people are putting 2 and 2 together and maybe coming up with 5. He has got links to Simon Jordan, who does bubbles up quite a bit now and again on TalkSport to whoever will listen. You know, we had it with the Saudi Arabia guy, the Turkey guy, and now it seems Textor's the latest man to be, you know, tenuously linked to us. I don't know how much truth was in there. Nothing's coming out of the club. No dialogue about being in conversations with anyone at all, except Adam Shaw's failed consortium bid. Other than that, it's complete radio silence, mate, isn't it?
It really is. Now, Charlie, you and I have spoken about this before, about conducting business in public. We've gone from too much public business being conducted to absolutely nothing at all. Do you feel that these mega rich people, I think you popped a tweet out about it earlier in the week, that these mega rich people may be unscrupulous and they're waiting for us to shit the bed, and then they'll go, "Hey, I'm your white knight. Come on in here, chaps. Follow me." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think expecting anybody with that level of wealth to also have a conscience is pretty minimal.
More to come on that tonight, ladies and gents, by the way.
God, that was like subliminal messaging. And you will buy an old man.
Buy stuff.
I don't know. There's something about. I think I said this last week, and everyone went, "No, we're just in the shit." But there's something about the weird silence that just makes me think, like, is anything happening? I don't know. Like, maybe, but certainly, if anyone looks at us and is interested in buying us and has the kind of money to throw at that, they don't need it to be a quick process. We need it to be a quick process. The people who haven't been paid need it to be a quick process. But to a certain extent, they can like look, and there might be people going, maybe I'll see if it can get a little bit worse for them. Maybe then we can knock a couple of mil off. I don't know. Like, if the vultures are circling, the wealthy vultures, then they have no emotional investment in us. Therefore, there's no reason to think that this can't drag out as long as anybody wants to do it. It's even for Chansiri's perspective, like, it's still a game to him. So it doesn't really matter, does it? Like,
it is.
That kind of way of doing it, though. It's like Wednesdays on eBay, and you're watching it, and you're thinking, "I'm not going to bid yet. I'll wait. You know, there's still 20 minutes left. I'm gonna see what's going on here. Like, you know."
I like that
analysis
on Wendy on eBay. I like that.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, isn't it? It's like, how can I wait till the last minute and then just get them for a song? You know what I mean? Ashley's there, like, you know, got his little alarm set for when it gets like 20-minute countdown to Wednesday ready to implode, and then he'll just chuck a little bit in and pick us up for a song.
And that's what's going to happen. We're going to it's going to be a tumultuous year, I think, at least. I think there's going to be a lot more news, a lot of shit happen, a lot of things come out, and then somebody will come in and go, "Hey, I've got a lot of money and not a lot of brain cells. Come on, lads, I've got you." You know what I mean? And it's going to be 10 years ago again, and we're all going to be in the playoff final once again. So I've heard. So that's, you know, that was Monday. That was just Monday. That was a week ago, right? Then Tuesday comes around, Stevie. Pre-season prep hampered by delays at Middlewood Road. Temporary facilities used. Good Lord.
Yeah. It was. There was all the talk about whether or not how they could afford the development on the training ground. I think we spoke about it about a month ago, where we were saying that we were under the impression that it may be Mockborough had put the buildings, the prefab buildings in, and we'd had everything sorted in terms of the grants that had been secured for us to maybe do the upgrades on the ground. So it wasn't anything that was necessarily coming out of his pocket, but it was quickly apparent that, you know, there were one or two stumbling blocks who were getting to that. And whilst everybody's got their eyes on the impending will they, won't they, of the wages being paid, is he going to sell? Is he going to lower the price? And all of that in the background, you've got this point where the players are coming back, as was in 2 days' time. And you're talking about which players are going to be coming back, who's going to be coaching them, what they're going to be doing on Thursday, etc., etc., etc. But then the rumbling started. You know what? Where are they going to go when they get there? It might be a case that Middlewood Road isn't necessarily going to be ready, and you know, it's just another one of those things that's sort of sticking against us, isn't it? I didn't know. I wasn't sure what to expect. Obviously, where I am, locality-wise and the nature of the job that I do. I'm not camped outside Middlewood Road. I can't go over there and see what's going on, so I couldn't tell you the state of.
Stevie, you better up your bloody game,
mate. Honestly,
we'll be doing the released and kept on clauses. We're doing contract Tinder on this show, and if you're not prepared to go and do my work for me, that
it's exactly that. It's exactly that. You know, I can only apologise for being up at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning typing out your notes for tonight, mate.
That bastard, rubbish, mate. Rubbish.
But yeah, I didn't know what to make of it. It was one of those things where, it's bad news after worse or worse news after bad. Let's see what happens when we get to Thursday. And again, I think at that stage of the week, people were more worried about who'd be turning up rather than where they'd be training, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like the takeover bid became a bit of a key jangle in terms of the noise. You know what I mean? Like, there's a few things where things get released on certain dates in the calendar because you know that they're going to be swept away. The most notable one, obviously, when 9/11 happened. I know this is a hell of an example. Don't get me wrong. I'm not making light of 9/11 at all. But there was a lot of things shoved in the newspapers on the 12th of September 2001 that you go, oh, I didn't notice that. I didn't know that had happened. You know what I mean? But listen, you're right, Stevie. You know, July is upon us tomorrow, and I'm like, well, where did the summer go? What happened? It's been, you know what I mean? How long's Danny Röhl's holiday? Which brings me to the next point, that there was still questions around Danny Röhl. Will he return to work? We don't know yet. And then Craig Chappell reverts to academy duties, hinting at Röhl's possible departure. Well, I've just seen a comment there that says, be careful, Fudge. I'm going to say a lot of things tonight that I need to get the rumour mill thing quite ready.
Get your jingles ready, mate.
Yeah, I'm going to be straight on that. I tell you what, Chaz, I'll come to you before I move on to the first adverts of the day, or to go to the first comments. Danny Röhl, are you, on one hand, would you go to work if they weren't paying you and it was a shit show at work? No. But also, this is football, and I want to see a bit of loyalty. So come on, son, what you doing? You know what I mean? Where are you on the Danny Röhl meter?
I always have an overarching, who would want to work at this company, who would want to work at this business, who would want to work for this crackpot. However, I also would not have signed a 3-year deal last year when it was still a crack show. A crack show? A crack show.
Crack show, I like.
Crack show. Okay, it's a crack show. I don't know what that means, but
I tell you what, I've been working in Exeter this last week, and when I've been walking home at 3 a.m., good term for it. I've been pumping for kestrel manoeuvres in the dark, but crack show I quite like.
Crack show. And I think there's a lot to be said for loyalty. There's a lot to be said for the likes of Bannon, for example. No one really expects that he wouldn't turn up, paid or otherwise. Do we really have the same legacy with Danny at this point? Probably not. Like, it feels like it's been this much longer love story that we've had with him, when in actual fact, it's only been a couple of seasons. But it would be nice to have seen him at least pop back to the office to get his things. I don't know. But the only thing weirder than what we have now would be if he sort of turned up and it was business as usual. Can you imagine if he was just our manager like next season? That would be incredibly weird. Like,
but once again, though, Chaz, it's what you were saying earlier on. Outside of Twitter, it's just news reports going, hey, Danny might do this, and Danny was linked with that. On Twitter, on X, it's very much, this is happening, this is taking place, this is going forward. You know what I mean? You're like, if I didn't have Twitter, if I didn't have X, I'd be like, no, it turns out our manager's been linked with a few people. Yeah, I can see why. Yeah, you know what I mean. Right, Stevie, let's get into some comments of the evening, please.
So the first couple have been talking about the ownership we were talking about earlier on in the show. Craig Haywood's been on. Milan, quick grab came and went as quick as his interest in trying to take us on again. Is no secret we're going to get into the Milan of it all, if you like, the Mandaric chap. Anthony Beale has also been on, saying that Textor sounds as bad as Chansiri. So we've got these owners that have been linked to us, these people that have, you know, the next people in the line of consortia that are potentially going to come and take us on. Textor is one that's going to divide opinion based on, if you do any sort of rudimentary research into what he's alleged to have done at Lyon and the way he's conducted business. It's going to cause a few people to have a little bit of an opinion there, isn't it? Johnny Owl's been on. It's just not the price that's the problem, but Chansiri's outrageous demands on how to conduct the sale. And then we've had somebody, allegedly, Dejphon Chansiri himself has been on. You want me to go on? Dan, please read this one out for me. You can do it better than me.
You want me to go on Wednesday week, for example? Then I say yes, but you first send me 5 million quid, which I really enjoy. And every time that account, that Dejphon Chansiri account tweets, I read it in that voice in my head.
Nice.
I don't read any statements from Chansiri now unless it's Dan Fudge style.
I tell you what, that statement that he released we ain't got to yet. He, like, again, it was one of those where like, oh, I'm happy for you. Oh, sorry that happened. I'm not reading all that. You know what I mean?
Solid.
Just the
Absolutely.
ramblings of a madman.
Joel Skelland, I've been up to Middlewood Road. We've just been talking about the state of play in the last week or so and where we are with it. I've been up to Middlewood Road. There is nothing even going on from what he could see. And
Careful, Joel. They'll have you playing centre back. If you hang around too long, you'll be in.
You'll be bag overhead like Squid Game.
Will you work for Note, please? Come on.
Go on in. Come on in. And then just a couple of bits on Danny that I thought, I know we've talked about Danny Röhl a lot and his loyalty. Paul Robinson, if Röhl doesn't want to be here, then let him go, same as the players. It's a difficult one, isn't it? And you can come down one or two ways with it. Is Röhl to blame for the way that he's behaved, or has he been promised something that potentially? And again, Joel's been on. Potentially promised something that was never going to come to fruition. I think Röhl was promised a lot of things before he signed a 3-year deal. And then finally, we've had Martin Beebe on this week. While I understand it, Danny has not done himself any favours. Any future employee would be looking at his conduct.
Ooh,
yeah,
true.
Yeah, good shout. Good shout. Go on, John.
I think a lot of it started to unravel on that January transfer window, didn't it? Really.
Yeah.
And when we got to that window, and it was like, okay, we're on the outskirts of the playoffs here, right? And I think Danny's like, hey, can you just get me a couple of players? I think I can squeeze a bit more juice out of the orange, and we might just get in there. Didn't happen, as we know, or to the level at which the fans and probably Danny wanted. And then after that, we just kind of petered away, didn't we? It just didn't happen for us, and kind of nosedive near the end. And I think that was the kind of starting point for it all, really.
Absolutely. I think that was the timeline. As soon as Southampton showed an interest in Danny in December, then we had the ill-fated fans forum. Our entire season fell to piss and or shit. So then we move on to Thursday the 26th of June. Players return for pre-season testing despite wage concerns. Pato for Maywo and Valerie absent, Stevie. Where are they in the contract proceedings? Did we offer Pato a contract? Are those the three we've offered contracts to?
Yeah. So at the end of the season, we offered Pato for Maywo and Bannon, didn't we?
Right.
With the extensions, and it was for them to come and decide whether or not Valerie was always under contract. He played for Tunisia, didn't he?
That's right.
So he's been given an extended break. Just very quickly, not to sort of swerve things, we're going to come back to Mandaric and Wednesday out because we've gone from Tuesday to Thursday.
Have I switched one up? Yeah, I was going to come back to Mandaric.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know.
Thanks,
yeah, 100%.
I rolled too far.
Award winning.
You're trying to pretend Wednesday don't exist. Ha ha ha.
I got you. So yeah, Mandaric walked away, and there was some more talks about Röhl and releasing him from his contract, which has obviously been a hot topic for the last 6 or 7 months. Do you want me to do Mandaric now? Shall we get Mandaric out the way now?
Mate, whenever you're ready. I'm looking forward to this.
Brace yourself, kids.
Hold tight, kids, it's advert time.
Right then, so let's talk about Milan Mandaric, who walked away on Wednesday saying a deal couldn't be done. Now, I was interested in what Mandy's role here was. Did he come and give without taking? No, he didn't. If you're a certain age, that's a hell of a gag. So Mandy then went missing, and I spent the last 2 weeks looking into the history of Milan Mandaric and what happens to the clubs after he goes, and I can't, and I need to get this. I need to be very careful here. I can't find out why this keeps happening, but let me try and talk to you in facts about what's public document and what we can see and what's actually happened. So, if I go back to the 90s. Mandy bought Nice for 1.2 million and sold them for 5 million. And within 5 years of sale, financial struggles and a relegation after he's gone. Charleroi in Belgium, hell of a pronunciation, I did really well. Bought them for 600, 700k in 2000. 3 years later, sold them for 1.8 million. Narrow survival, internal tensions, and fiduciary financial troubles. Shooketh. Bit of a pattern emerging here, kids. Brace yourselves. Portsmouth bought them for 4 million in 1997. Now, Pompey, he was at for a good amount of years, right? Pompey was at for a good amount of years, and there was some success in Portsmouth. But as soon as they were a sellable asset, as soon as they were in the Premier League, as soon as they went up, and if you remember back at the time, they had players like Paul Merson, Patrick Berger. You know what I mean? They had a good squad. Linvoy Primus was doing bits for them back in the day, right? So they bought him for 4 million in 1997, and he sold them for 32 in 2006. 2 years later, they won the FA Cup, right? Fair play to you. Fair play to you. Then, do you remember the season after they won the FA Cup and everything that happened to Portsmouth 10 years down the line? What happened to Pompey after Mandy had gone, after he came and gave with taking? Leicester City bought for £25 million in 2007, sold them to the consortium that still got them now from Thailand. Make a note of that, kids. And sold them for 39 million in 2010. Now, this was his biggest success, right? So he's bought them cheap because they went through a relegation process when he came in. I think they got relegated, was it 8 or 9 or something like that? And then took them back to the Premier League, sold them on. That's what he did. And they were stable. They even won the Premier League. Absolute fairy story. They won it with a load of cheap fellas that nobody had ever heard of that had then gone on to be big names, but everybody decided they didn't want Jamie Vardy, but they wanted everybody else. And then we had this period where Danny Drinkwater was playing against Lionel Messi or whatever, you know what I mean? The Champions League, absolute insanity, right? However, it just came about that during the same week that Mandy was in the UK, Leicester City are in financial fiduciary trouble, and they've got a Thai consortium in charge, and no one can prove where their earnings come from. Shooketh, I tells you. And then obviously now we move forward to Sheffield Wednesday, who he bought for £1. We were £7 million in debt, restructured that, and then sold them on to Dapon Chansiri for 37.5 million, making a net profit about something like 10 to 12 million. Since then, we've had financial fair play breaches, points deductions, relegations, things like that. Right now, a lot of that can be attested to Chansiri. This is not me pointing the finger at Mandaric directly, but there is a pattern there of 5 football clubs where he's gone in looking like the saviour, sold it on to somebody, and then they've gone to shit a few years later. Now, do you feel the rumour mill? Do you feel that he's coming in and borrowing? This is a question. Do you feel he's coming in, borrowing against future season ticket and shirt sales and things like that, proving the last 5-10 years to his mate? Let's say he's got a mate in banking, right? All these people work in a higher echelon world than we do, right? He's got a pal in banking. Listen, Jeff, he's got a mate, Jeff Barkley's bank, right? Jeff Barkley. Listen, Jeff, I get 2 million a year from season tickets and shirts. Can I borrow 7? And then they pay that back over the next 3 or 4 years. So what he needs to bail out in the next 3 or 4 years and sell it to somebody rich and or stupid, right? Did it with us. And I feel, and then 3 years passes, you know, the EFL 3-year PSR rules, right? 3 years passes, and then all of a sudden it kicks in. We're struggling. The new geezer with all the money can't spend any of his money anymore. So we need to have a look at how much money the club brings in to be self-sufficient. That's not there anymore because it's paying off these massive loans, maybe, allegedly, right? So do you feel that there is a point here where Mandy comes in, borrows against the future, then flogs it to someone daft, and then they fall to bits. Like I think I got some names up here, actually. I think I got some, that's a truncated version. So, for example, right, Milan, Nice went down very soon after. He sold Charleroi to Abbas Bayat for $2.5 million. That genuinely went to shit. Excuse me, a bit of windy pops. Portsmouth, the geezer we sold them to, absolutely fell to shit. And then they had fan-led protests. They had about 4 owners in about 4 years. That was going constantly. They had that skint shake, didn't they, for a bit? I don't know if you remember him. Leicester City, a well-documented 30-minute meeting that he had with Vichy. Come on, Fudge. Vichy Saravadarahananaprabha. Or something. My apologies if I've got that wrong. I wasn't trying to get a cheap joke out of that. And then 30 minutes, and then we had the Azerbaijani guy at our place, and then I feel like the Azerbaijani guy went, well, hang on a minute, I've got to pay your loan off for the next 3 or 4 years, probably. So there, Milan Mandaric did not come into Sheffield Wednesday last week to come and see if he could broker a deal. That prick smelt money. And then he realized, he probably came in and went, can I borrow again against the future? No, you can't, because it's that fucked. And then he effed off. That's what's happened. If anybody sat there and think that by some way of self hurt that he had, where he's coming to say, hey lads, listen, I'll have a word with him. I've spoke to this geezer before. I'll have a word with him. I'll sort it out. No, he came in because he smelt $1, and I will not have it any other way, because he's got a 5-club track record. And if you go back as far as the American club he had in there as well, that went to piss and bollocks. So Chaz, to go back to your point, I don't feel that these people in terms of wealth are scrupulous men who are sat there going, like Mandy sat there the last 10 years going, oh my God, I can't believe it. Oh, no way. So if you think that Mandaric came in to help us out by some weird connection to the club, I've got some magic beans to sell you.
It reminds me a little bit. There used to be this show on BBC where like these 2 bob millionaires would buy these houses, throw a load of magnolia on walls, and then resell house for about another 20,000 on top. But
I'm sure it was picking the curtains before it went into escrow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting theory because some do see him as this,
theory. Thank you, John. Theory.
Yeah.
Get him out of hot water quick.
Sort of like, and he was the only one who stepped forward at the time, wasn't it, when we were in the financial mess, and these people said, "Oh, I should put a statue up." I ain't gonna argue for or against it. I think he's been important in the resurrection of Wednesday at the time when we needed it. But like you said, these businessmen are businessmen, and they come in to make a buck. And I don't think there's a genuine feel or love there for us. I think it's just an opportunity, and if he gets an opportunity, even at 86 or whatever he is, he will try and take it. I think it's because if you pick Wednesday, on the cheap again twice, and then you can make another killing on him, can't you? Really.
Rich people will never, ever, ever, ever have the working man's interests at heart. They will never have the football fans' best interests at heart. And the thing is, there are good owners out there in the same way that you can work for a good business. Like I hear John Lewis is great to their employees, and they give them, extra leave and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's still humongous, incredibly wealthy people that have nothing in common with you. Like Chansiri he couldn't even begin to empathize with what it would mean to miss 1, let alone 2 paychecks. Like there's no way that any of these people, and again, like even if you want to give like Mandaric all of the, okay, let's be really generous and assume that he really had some kind of pang and some kind of guilt. He effectively, Grandpa Simpson walked in, went whoop, and walked back out again. Like, can I help? No. Good day. Like, fine, okay, that's great. I don't know what to really do with that. Like, even if you had the best of intentions, I'm really sure what we're supposed to do with that. There is no, it will always just be a plaything for rich people. And
exactly
at the moment, we need that. Like, we kind of need another rich idiot to come in.
Do you know what, Chaz? Yeah, there's an element of anybody but Chansiri that Ash touched upon last week when he was hosting it. And you're right. We were like, what did I pop out? The Star Wars meme that said, "Help us, Milan, you're our only hope." And at the time he was, right? You know what I mean? But we don't need that. Now put that comment back up, Stevie, because that was an excellent comment. Was it from Rob Shirley? Said, "I suspect you're right, Dan, but you delivered that with the relish of a parent who enjoys his kid's Santa isn't real." Rob, if you'd have had the fortnight online that I've had, you'd have loved every fucking second of that. And I tell you what, I will. Yes, I did. Yes, good spot. Fair play. Stevie, let's get into some comments. I've set a lot on fire there, and I wonder if I've enraged anybody or have people gone, yeah, he might be right there.
To be fair, mate.
As always, Fudge speaks for himself.
Yeah. Disclaimer.
Not necessarily the views of
I'm
everyone
Dan
else.
Fudge, and I approve this message.
You go through the comments as they've come through our live feed, and the majority of people are saying however you want to deliver it. You're broadly speaking the truth, mate. To be honest with you, just a couple to chuck up for you though. Harpo Speaks has been on. Just a note that playing the rumour mill jingle is not a bulletproof defence when it comes to slander.
I've been dining on that for about 15 years, but that rumour mill is going to get me out of some trouble one day.
Your Honour, I played the rumour mill jingle. What do you mean 50 years?
But I did say at the start that, you know, I wanted to be very clear. 90% of what I said is public record. That's what happened. That's out there. I know that the figures can be slightly different, 10 to 12 million rather than 11.5 or whatever it was. You know what I mean? And the bit that's going to be contentious is me saying on the internet that he borrows against the future. And I feel personally that that's correct. I'm not telling you that it is gospel. Rumour mill, clip that. Go on, Stevie, carry on.
No, it's just on that point though, mate. You know, people are going to start speculating and people are going to have an opinion as to a lot of money is being put into this club and a lot of money is coming out of the club and we've got very little to show for it. So if, you know, we're talking about a clear sort of deficit in terms of turnover, where is that going and where's it come from? Because
it's like Cotton Eye Joe, mate.
I genuinely, I can't remember where I heard it, but in the last sort of 24 hours, it might have been Kieran Maguire. In fact, it was Kieran Maguire on Second Tier podcast that picked it up. And he did a little sort of piece to camera for 2-3 minutes and was talking about the fact that you talk about the wage bills and the money that's coming in. We still have one of the lowest wage bills in the league. Yeah. We had it last year. So we're not a massive outlay in relative terms in terms of the salaries that we're paying players that we cannot afford to pay at the moment. Which is a huge sort of concern, isn't it? Where is all this money going? We are the highest the highest revenue in terms of season tickets in the league. Yes, we're charging absolute extortionate prices on the turnstiles, match days, the experiences that our club is offering, and yet we're still struggling like Billy.
It's almost as if there's a big loan to pay off. Just speculating.
What could that possibly be? You know,
I've said that before about the whole Chancery when he talks a lot about this money owed to the chairman, like, you know, where in this kind of like, I don't know, like even if it's not necessarily Mandaric, like there's clearly a lot of like, yeah, bits not coming from where they're meant to. So why were they coming from there in the first place?
You're right there, Charlie. And Steve is spot on. We've got the lowest wage budgets in the league, but the highest ticket prices. Where's the fucking money?
Yeah, where's it gone? Where's it gone?
Go on, Stevie.
Just an interesting one. Last one before we kick on from here, though. Worko's been on. Part of me does wonder if, when selling us, Mandaric believed it would be Daypon's father that was heading it up rather than Daypon, but who knows? Which kind of alludes to another rumour, if you like, that does Mandaric know something around that family that we don't? And I'm not saying he does or he doesn't. This is my disclaimer. As he turned up, I just personally found it really strange that he's made this big statement 2 weeks ago where he said, "I'm coming to England. I'm going to be the guy on the white horse in my suit of armour. I'm coming to save Sheffield Wednesday." And he's arrived, and in reality, the chairman wasn't even in the country. So you would think that if he's going to travel all the way over from America to come and have a meeting with Chancery's representatives, the family, whatever, in London, Dan, if I want to have a meeting with you, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to have a meeting with you, and I'm not going to travel all the way down to Chiswick if you're in Exeter. Do you know what I mean? So he's literally flown halfway around the world to have a meeting with a man that's not even in the country.
Which Absolutely. If it looks like shit and smells like shit, it's probably shit. And it was the same week that Leicester City announced some financial issues. So let's keep an eye on that, shall we? Was he there for that? You know what I mean? I don't know. I think that his presence in something that literally, as far as we're all concerned, has got shit all to do with him, raises more questions. Raises a lot of questions. But anyway, let's leave that alone. Let's just ask the question rather than slander somebody across the internet what looks like Hoggle from Labyrinth. Right then, let's move on to Thursday. Let's go back to Thursday now. We've done Mandy, who came and gave with taking. DC really is this DC's statement, right? So he came out, John, addressed the failed takeover attempts by a US consortium, details 2 rejected bids and communications breakdowns. Now, there was 5 million mentioned for a Zoom call or some nonsense.
Yeah, it all got very childish, didn't it? I mean, you start reading the statements and it's like, coming out and saying, I want to clarify things. They didn't offer this amount in pounds, it was in dollars.
Don't give shit.
It's like, okay. And then it talks about a Zoom meeting, and you just imagine him like, this is similar to Zoom, isn't he? He sat there on his own, camera on, waiting for somebody to enter the lobby and no one's coming. He's waiting 45 minutes thinking, I've got my mic on. Is that on right? Middle-aged men and technology and all that. And no one came in.
Click the wrong link.
And so and it just got all a bit stupid, didn't it? It's like, I don't know. Do we need to know that? You know what I mean? Do we need to know that? It's just like, you didn't agree a price. Why are you airing dirty laundry in public again? You just like, we need that on top of everything else. And it just didn't come out with any credibility as well. Not that we'd give him any anyway at this point, but I just think it made matters worse. I just don't think we needed it.
Or a proper apology. Why is he not on his hands and knees begging for forgiveness? I don't care if he was waiting 2 weeks in a Zoom meeting. I don't give a monkeys whether he's been WhatsApping this guy or meeting whatever or hiding under his desk because Milan's come knocking. Why is he not literally crying his eyes out, begging at the feet of the people he's not paid? I'm losing my... When I read that, I was at work and everyone was like, are you going to see this patient? I was like, in a minute, please. In a minute. I don't care that there's alarms going on.
It's a 3-minute read at the top. I'm 7 in.
And at one point I was like, oh, he sort of acknowledged there a little bit about some money not spent. And nope, that's the end of the statement. Excellent. Great. It's just staggering. Absolutely staggering. Who cares? Who cares? 5 million what? 5 million this?
There was the one, again, you have to take these things with a pinch of salt sometimes, but there was the other rumour, wasn't there, that his actual starting price for the club was £300 million. I mean, that just instant Dr. Evil meme, innit?
Literally needs to go and live on the moon.
300 million
for $1 dollars. Yeah. Yen. I tell you what, I got called out there by Martin Beebe there. What did he say, Stevie? Dan, read some of the statement. I can't work out if that's I can't work out if that's a jibe at my preparation for this show because I couldn't be asked to read it, and I'm not hiding the fact. Or does he want me to read it in the Chansiri voice?
I think it's
the Chansiri voice.
Although, yes, both. You know what I mean? Stevie, I'll let you have some comments, and then if there's any for the from the people in reference to the statement.
The statement bothered me. The reason that statement bothered me, and I posted a tweet on Thursday morning, because for everything that had happened, and as we alluded to earlier on, you didn't know what was going to happen on Thursday morning when everybody rocked up. There was a case of who's going to be there, who's not going to be there. I think it was pretty well documented by sufficient ITK people to know that we're not breaking any secrets or trust, knowing that Danny Röhl was not going to be turning up on Thursday morning. So the rumours then became who's going to be taking training, what's going to be happening, what they're going to be doing. The reality is they were always only ever going to do fitness testing and training. Just to have a look at the data, the analysis, the numbers where they were before they came and started, as would have been this morning. I thought the social media team at Sheffield Wednesday, bearing in mind, I think we talked about it last week, they'd only posted maybe 4 times for the entire month. For that 1 hour of Thursday morning last week, when you see Bannon walking in, you see Palmer walking in, you saw Bernard walking in, you saw all the players were walking in big beaming smiles on their faces, thumbs up, looking happy.
They look AI, didn't they? Did they look AI? Like Bannon specifically looked
they
like
were
they'd been
secretly
made
like
by
this.
Grok. Yeah. I mean,
but you know, they do all of that, and then it was less than 90 minutes. We've released this statement, and all the positivity in a shit situation as it is just disappears, because we're then faced all of a sudden with another statement from the chairman, you know, and it's literally what's that the Simpsons meme where they have to do the thing, and it's literally, you can see the Sheffield Wednesday social media guy going, I've got a type that there's going to be a statement from the club, and he's gone, and it's literally, it was the laziest post as well. Statement from the chairman. And then he comes out and he gives all of these things, and I truncated it, and it's too long, and I won't be going through all of it because I've got work in the morning. But he talked a lot about, you know, the bids that came in, the disparity in terms of the money, the disparity in terms of the currency that they were talking about. There were lots and lots of loopholes in that statement around what was happening. It all just became really sort of nonsensical and really farcical. And I just thought, you couldn't be bothered to read it, could you?
No, I couldn't.
But
Ash alluded to that before to us when he was speaking about some of the video calls he's had where they picked on. I believe they've spoken at what is it? Ash is part of not the trust
engagement panel.
EP, where he says like, "Oh, we're going to have a something about signing players and Moneyball approach like Brentford and stuff like that, and are we going to start selling some players?" And apparently, all DC said was, "Well, are you going to sell then? Who should I sold? Who should I got rid of then? Who should I sell?" Well, shut up. You know what I mean? We want the meat, not the bones. Like, why are you pissing about talking about currency and shit? Just fucking hell. You know what I mean? I sometimes say 2 inches, even though I know it's 2.2 centimeters. Do you know what I mean? Or 4.4 centimeters. Whatever.
I know where you're going.
It's like when your nan goes, I picked him up last Thursday. Or it might have been Tuesday. I don't give a shit. I've already stopped listening now. Shut up.
The only thing I'd say to sort of bring this chat to a sort of a conclusion, I found it interesting that for a group of people that are so eager to get online and say things and sort of retort and say, this is what we've done and this is what I'm willing to do. The one thing I will say about the chairman, he went balls to the wall with it and said, this was a figure, this is what was offered. I went on this Zoom call, I went here, and here. And the other side have not come back and made any sort of noise around it. Now, if I were the other side, would I not be then going, and I know we don't want that. We don't want each other playing off each other. Yeah. We don't want that. But you know that it'd just be absolutely typical of this US consortium to say, he's wrong, he's lying, he's being deceitful, this is what we want. We are being forthright in everything that we're attempting to do. But they're not. They've gone quiet. And I don't know why.
Because everyone involved in this whole situation is an idiot. And you can clip that and you can take that to the bank. None of these people have your best interests at heart. I'm not talking about the fans. I'm not talking about the fans that have given up their time to really try and like help. And I know that there's so many people who, whether you agree with them or you don't agree with them, but these rich lunatics do not care about you. They do not care about you. It's all business. Chansiri's lying. You know he's lying because he's opening his mouth, but that doesn't mean that the other people on the other side aren't lying as well. The whole thing is insane, and everybody involved in it is a moron, an absolute moron. Like Milan's a moron. They're all idiots.
We've got our clip for TikTok next week. She's, it was Molly the season before. Now it's Chaz. She just gets likes. She gets likes and views on TikTok with her little diatribes like that. Go on, John.
I was just said, it doesn't give it any credence whatsoever, and it all comes back to them 3 letters, doesn't it? What they talk about when they're buying football clubs, and that's NDA, because none of this is played out in public. Even when Chansiri himself bought a club, it wasn't played out in public.
It came out of nowhere.
It came out of nowhere. It was spotted at the ground, and then a few weeks later, it bought the club. So he knows how it should work, but it seems to refuse to put into practice what he did when he actually bought the club, which is like, he should be doing NDAs. You don't hear anything, then all of a sudden, we're going to get bought, and that's that.
In the interest of offering a balanced argument. And I know Dan's just turned his nose up at this one. Johnny L 1985 has been on and said, maybe the Florida Consortium are just taking the high road and trying to do things professionally.
Maybe.
I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying that it would be something of a 180 if they suddenly decided that they were going to do that. And I'm going to stop talking there.
Fuck off. Stevie, I'm not going on another diatribe about Adam Shaw. I received quite the amount of phone calls, and I must admit I do need to clear something up. It turns out, right, that Simon from 1867 News does speak to Chansiri, and I said that he didn't the other week. I do need to retract that. He is speaking to him. What his role is and where he's doing, we didn't get into that much detail. And he told me a few things about his character and stuff like that. And a lot of it's true, but I don't want to stitch him up and slag him off on the internet and tell him he's wrong when I was wrong. So that's
there's nothing but positive things to say about fans that are trying their best, even if people don't agree with their approaches. Genuine fans of our club taking their time to try and make a difference, regardless of how you do it, I will always be impressed and grateful for that. I just can never trust a Scrooge McDuck with a sack of money. I don't care if he's got a Wednesday out on or what. I just don't trust any of it.
What if he looked like Hoggle from the Labyrinth? What if he looked like Hoggle from the Labyrinth? What about it?
Also not him.
I'm gonna have to get a picture up, aren't I? Stevie, get me some comments up from the gang. And then Ash has been on, who's manning our socials right now. He's written, I was wrong, Dan Fudge 2025. I think you'll find that's 2 shows on the bounce now I've had to do that. I'm very upset about it. Let's do some comments, Stevie.
So Harpo Speaks has literally just been on, hot off the press. He's just saying Mandaric will be phoning you after this.
Fucking
slander, and you said he looked like a guy from Labyrinth.
Had an interesting one from Liam Moore, I believe, is a Leeds fan, because he's talking about Cellino. I never thought another football club could beat Massimo Cellino to the title of most batshit crazy narcissist football owner of all time, but Chansiri wins by a country mile. If you want to take, if you want to take the piss taking out of it, and you can say and think what you want about Leeds fans, they had some shit under Cellino. But then to come out with a statement like that just tells you the gravity of where we are. Let's be right, Leeds are a big fan base with a significant support, and if they're in a situation where they're now looking at us going, well, we thought we had it bad, that's absolutely fucking crazy. We know that's the sort of level that we're at. So yeah,
well, it's interesting that he says that though, Liam. Thanks for that comment, because Cellino actually came sniffing around Wednesday because Mandaric actually said he came for inquiring to buy the club. He hosted him. He came to the ground and everything, and he was telling local media at the time that he's like, oh, he was sat right over there, and proper detailing how much he didn't respect him and it wasn't going to sell to him, and then nearly sold to somebody else who I think ended up being in prison in their own country, didn't they? So just don't know, do you? Like Charlie says, don't trust them.
I've got one more comment for us here, Dan. I don't know if you want to do this on air. Nick SWFC has been on 3 questions. Maybe you want to chuck them out to
go on. Let's do it. I tell you what. Shall we make that? Shall we make these 3 tonight's? Brace yourselves. Hot topic.
So, 3 questions from Nick. Number 1, who do you think will be chairman, new owner by the time we play Leicester? Number 2, who will be in the dugout? Number 3, who will have the armband on? I'm going to take the host on this. I'm going to leave it. So I'm going to throw one out to each one of you. I'm going to come to Charlie. Who do you think will be chairman, owner by the time we play Leicester?
Liquidate. No, checking. I don't think we'll have made a sale in that time. I would love that to be true. I think even if something starts happening, I don't think it will have happened by then. So I'm going to say Chansiri will be still, but the weird, crazy, optimistic, slightly tipsy part of me is like, maybe something will be in the works. Who will be in the dugout? Aussie. I have no idea. Absolutely no idea.
Steve Bracknell.
Steve Bracknell, yeah. Got my vote. Fudge, what are you doing? Are you free? I don't know. Anybody. Simon, it's all fine. I have no idea. It won't be Danny. Can I say that? Does that count as answering the question to say who it won't be?
Well,
who do you think
to
will have
give a
the
bit of
armband on?
background on that, Charlie, there's a lot of talk, because I want to move this timeline. There's a lot of talk about Pedersen from the coaching team being in the dugout. I feel that there's a lot of legs in that, and
that's logical.
That was my question.
Yeah, whether the plan is for Pedersen to become permanently in that role, or whether that is just going to be to tide it over, I don't know, but probably that would make a lot of sense. Who will have the armband on? I guess Bannon. I don't know why Bannon wouldn't. I mean, we've no.
He's not been paid.
But the difference is he must be. I'm not. Forgive me if I'm getting the details slightly wrong, but my understanding is he'd probably already have a bit of an idea that he weren't going to get paid today if he weren't going to get paid. Therefore, you won't come back to training smiling and being dead normal if you knew the club that you've given your heart and soul for the last God knows how many years was going to shaft you right at the end and you were going to walk. There's no reason to suspect that he will not have the armband on, unless for whatever reason he ends up taking more of a backseat role within the squad, which I think even if he wanted to, he's one of like 5 players we've got, so I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen either. So I don't think there's going to be that much change, other than Danny is not going to by the first game. I think the only difference will be there'll be no Danny in the dugout. Otherwise I think it's going to be business as bloody usual, unfortunately. Not unfortunately for Bannon, the rest of it.
Charlie's covered all 3 there. She's covered all 3 points.
That's the Blooch talking. I'm so sorry.
Dan, give me a bit about Pedersen.
So Pedersen has been linked in the media a lot, and there was a lot of heavy rumours circulating. If you remember, 1867 News said that Danny was already on his way to Southampton to the players. That was a heavy rumour, to be fair to him, and Pedersen was going to take over. I'd be all right with it. The less disruption, the better for me. And I feel that's something that would be good for us if we can perpetuate the football that we've been playing. It's exciting. It's front foot. I kind of like it. I just wish we could just work out that midfield and who we're playing at the back. But I'd be all right with Pedersen. And there was interest in Brentford from him as well. So if he's in the dugout, crack on. I'm all right with it.
Cool. I'd agree with you, by the way, mate. Everything that I've heard out of the club and from behind the scenes, Pedersen seems to be the man that's doing a lot of the string pulling. So, yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with you as well. John, captain?
Captain, yeah, I agree with Charlie. I can't see it being anybody else but Bannon. He's Mr. Wednesday, and he sing the theme tune, write the theme tune, all that. You know, he's just Bannon, isn't it? You know, he's such a nice chap as well, isn't he? And I think we were speaking before about it, you know, whether owners and managers have genuine affinity for the club and its fans. One thing for sure is that Bannon definitely does have that in spades, doesn't he? He has genuine love and affection for the fans. I think he'd happily retire as a Sheffield Wednesday player, and then you maybe become one day coach. So I agree with Charlie there, Bannon.
What's that?
I'm tagging you back in, Dan. Craig Haywood's been back.
Do you need to speak now?
Sorry, I've done your job.
Do you want to wrap up the hot topic and I'll stick the sting in? Let's do that. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll finish off. Just to finish that point, Josh was on the podcast where he did say, when he talked about the coaching, the setup behind the scenes, Röhl is as good as he is, but a lot of the training ground on the grass work is sort of led and directed by Pedersen. Just to sort of bring it to a close, if he is that willing to stick around and see through, the next 2 weeks or so of salary issues, and he's willing to stay at the club and he's willing to stay in Sheffield, which I've been reliably advised that he does like the place. I'd have no objection to Pedersen being in. He's a natural link from what we've had. And if we've got any hope of any sort of continuation, he'd be the guy that I'd want to see in the dugout next year. And that is tonight's.
Shit, I went red.
Hot topic. Mate, we are so professional.
I was hovering over that button and then I went, "Oh, what's that?" And then I did what Ash did. When like Ash, have you ever seen Ash when he's doing the comments and he goes, "Oh yeah," and then don't put them up. Like he laughs at them. Like there's a bit where like a kitten with a piece of string on. I've got a beautiful clip of he went, "Yeah, No. Like this. Like this and
Literally 30 seconds before we went off. 30 seconds before we went on air tonight, you went. Just make sure that you're ready with the comments.
Yeah. And there's me not ready with anything else. Also, sidebar, while I've got you before I go to the adverts, here's a picture of Barry Bannon arriving for training. That is AI. I'm having none of it. I'm having none of it. Look at that. That is artificial intelligence. That is. We'll see you after this.
Brace yourself. Some people are gonna try and sell you some things.
And if you are looking now at the screen, that is Hoggle from the Labyrinth. Yeah, look there. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh, Dan, that's so mean.
Couldn't give a fuck. All right, then. So let's move on to Friday. So we had Pedersen was attracting interest from Brentford after they rather curiously gave Keith Andrews the job. Mad as a fish in petrol for me. That he is nowhere near qualified for that job. But I'm intrigued to see, and fair play to Brentford for giving somebody a crack. I think, given the amount of money in the Premier League, giving someone a crack is not should be high on anybody's list. And then Sheffield Wednesday were added to the EFL embargo list for HMR issues. And then Röhl is linked with the Leicester job, and Cadamarteri's move to Man City is nearing completion. Now, a lot of people have been saying that we've had to sell the silverware in order to pay, Rob P. Sell the silverware to pay the staff. I feel like Man City don't have to pay that much. I feel like I feel like they're separate issues. And I know I'm speaking in Chansiri's defense here, but do I believe that it's been perpetuated by him in order to get some money? Yes, I do. But Man City could have took him off us for peanuts in a very short amount of time, and then paying 1.5 million is just because they've got loads of money. So they would probably sniff in, and Chansiri's probably going, look, if you want him, pay up some money now and you can have him. You know what I mean? I feel like there's more to it than having to flog the silverware to pay the mortgage. And then. So the following day was Saturday. The Guardian publishes an in-depth piece on this Sheffield Wednesday's crisis. John, all of a sudden, we're starting to reach the media, aren't we, a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. A couple of national media sources as well, tapping into the story and putting up some attention-grabbing headlines about famous old club in real term. I think one of the headlines was Sheffield Wednesday, the club that's tearing itself apart. And it's like, no, it's not us. It's the guy in charge.
We're coming. We're doing it.
We're paying 50 quid in match day tickets and and all the shirts and whatever else comes with it. It's the mad owner that's got us into this. But with the selling of the Cadamarteri, it just reminds me of that scene from Monty Python where he's like, "No, son, you got to go out and work because I'm a Catholic. Yeah. I can't put a Johnny on the end of my." You've got to go out and work. So you've got to sell the kids and you sell the silverware because I can't afford to I can't afford to run the household and all that. And it's absolutely mental times, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That was, and then that threw me. That I didn't know where you agree with that, John. That's absolutely thrown me. But I do get the reference. You have to be a certain age to remember Monty Python now.
I love some new material down.
John's references.
Make John's references a subsection of the whole. I think we should have a John's references jingle whenever he does one.
Hey,
can we get that, please?
I'm your guy for John's references. Don't get me wrong. It's another rogue joke gag. We'll make that one like a little honky tonk, like yes. Play me out, Johnny. Yeah. What we're doing. Ex-loanee James Beadle plays in the England under-21s Euro final. Fair play to him. Came under a fire, Charlie, towards the back end of the season, and managed to win the Euros under-21 again. Not him, but the team have done it again.
I slagged him off one time on a podcast, and he has to go and win the Euros just to prove me wrong. Yeah, I'm chuffed for him. It's great. Long may his career continue.
Rio Shipston returned from Cork due to embargo issues, and we went on to Sunday. National media begin covering Sheffield Wednesday wage crisis payment doubts for June, and Ash did a Leicester City podcast. I missed it. I was travelling on a train, Stevie. Did you get to see any of it, or is that on your viewing list to watch?
It's on my viewing list to watch. I can just remember.
That's a polite way of saying is we didn't think it was going to be an hour. We thought it'd be 20 minutes. I'd have watched that, but a lot happens in Sheffield Wednesday. All of a sudden, Ash could do a podcast at 5 p.m. on a Sunday, and by Monday afternoon, it's fish and chip paper. You know what I mean? So I will get it, Ash.
He's been on. Cheers for the support, guys.
Oh, poor Ash.
No problem, Ash. Listen, do you listen to me when I'm on the Paul Rush show on TalkSport at 1 a.m.? I don't think you do. So, samesies. So then we move on to Monday, the 30th of June. This is today. This is what we've had today. I kind of like this story. However, your feelings on Steve Bracknell as a character from Chris McClure, I think we could put a pin in that. But he declined to launch the new kit in solidarity with the unpaid staff. Now, all right, the more skeptical about us would have gone, you've only done that because of optics and all the rest of it. And who the bloody hell, this bloody character, I've had enough. But still, he still did it. That could have paid him money. I don't know who to give it him, but it could have been, it'd have raised his profile a bit for an online character. Fair play, right?
Mm-hmm. Sets a huge precedent, because we've been saying, like, fans have been saying, why have Wednesday United have took more advantage of the Steve Bracknell thing than we bloody have, and I think it's great, and I think it just shows that, like, there's no friends around the club. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no he's not making it, that nobody's making any moves. Like, nothing's going to kind of work out for him.
Do you know what? I'm going to put you all on the spot now, and I just want one word out of you. If they asked us to do it, would you do it?
No.
I think I might if they were paying me. I think
Why?
It'd be something for me to look back on and go, do you remember that year that I launched the kit? You know what I mean?
Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I?
But I get it. I understand it. He's a better man than I, is I guess the point I'm making. So some Academy under-21 players begin receiving payments mid-afternoon. So a lot of chat was talking about the wages come in. Some of the young kids have been getting their pittance of a wage, relative pittance of a wage. They're getting that through. And players, again, reportedly unpaid. The third instance in 4 months. Stevie, they can hand their notice in tomorrow, can't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they can. And it's a difficult one. I don't know what the ins and outs of that will look like. And I suspect that there's more to the story than the press know, that we know. We can talk about it in terms of, this player, has he been paid for 2 consecutive months? Has this pay been played at all? I think it'll all play out in the morning. We will see well, in fact, you know what? We probably won't, will we? If you sit down and think about it, they're not going to come out tomorrow morning and go, right, I've handed my notice in. So it potentially is going to go for another couple of weeks before that somebody will say something at some point somewhere. I think the only time that you'll find that somebody's really upset about things is if they publicly come out and player X or player Y goes, I've handed my notice in just to let you know this is what I'm doing and these are the reasons why.
I don't think they'll be able to keep it quiet for 2 weeks, though, because tomorrow's notice day, right, if they've not been paid, if they want to go. And then they have to stick around for like a fortnight, don't they? And then, but surely who's going to wait a fortnight? I'd be like, Josh Windass would be going, I've put my notice in, lads. And that
we could probably get Josh on the pod if he did.
I would surmise that if there will be an element of people, and I'm going to use players for example, and I'm not going to use Josh Windass because I think that's quite an easy trope to go with. I will use Barry Bannon because I believe that this is probably, there are elements of truth steeped in this. I think Bannon would be inclined to go, I'm going to stay, I'm going to see it through, I'm going to do everything I can to try and get this club right. Or Liam Palmer, those sort of long-term stalwarts. Another player, for example, Anthony Masaba. And again, I'm not suggesting it's Anthony Masaba. And I know that if he was out of contract,
Stevie, do you want me to just play the rumour mill thing and then you can get to your point? Do you?
Another player that is out of contract.
We get it. Hypothesizing is the word.
Yeah. But then at that point, they would then go, right, I need to get my agent on. And I've got to get my agent doing the bits now. And I've got to go and speak to that player. And I've got to that club. And I've got to go and speak to that person. I've got to go and speak to that broker. I've got to go and speak to them. And they're then going to turn around and go, right, in 14 days' time, this guy's going to be available. He's going to do some business. So whether it's right or wrong, it will be happening. People will be going, right, I'm going to get hold of that player and behind the scenes. But, it'll all leak through.
I feel some of those I feel some of those things that you mentioned there, those conversations have already taken place these last 4 weeks.
100%. But
not
tomorrow
gonna
is the
think
day where it
maybe
becomes
we'll
a thing.
Yeah.
1000%. I mean, why would any young player who could, early on in their career, who could earn just as much money, any money really, is more than the zero money they've been paid for the last 2 months. Why would you not? And why would we expect them to have loyalty? Like I wouldn't blame anyone for going, but you'd be a little bit more surprised perhaps at some of our older serving players, or at least you wouldn't be surprised if they stuck around. I'd be very surprised if anyone else did. Why would you? For what?
Go on, John.
I said, Bannon's like at the end of Titanic, with the captain and the ship's going down. Come on, let's everybody. No, I'm staying here. I'm staying. I'm going down. I'm going down with the ship. He's like proper loyal, isn't he? But at some point, he's just. It's going to be decisions are going to be taken out of his hands at some point if he don't get sorted, isn't it? Because you can't just go on and not get paid. He'll have to leave and find another club if they don't sort it, which would be terribly sad for everybody.
Absolutely. I tell you what, after my Milan Mandaric rant here, lads, I mentioned Portsmouth, which was a good time for him. Joey Smith's been on. He says, I'm a Pompey fan. I can feel your pain from personal experience. Terrible owners, not paid, and that all goes with it. Hope Sheffield Wednesday gets sorted and rid of Chansiri. Milan Mandaric sold your club to somebody, and then all that stuff happened. Truth. That's fact. That's what happened. Did he borrow against the future? Don't know. Let's find out. I can't find anything. I have been solidly looking before. I wanted this rant to wrap up with, and he borrowed the next 3 years season ticket money up against a big loan and then effed off. You know what I mean? That's what I thought it was. But I'd love to speak to a Pompey fan to see if he knows something, but I don't know how much of it is broadcastable. So, Stevie, is there any other comments to bash up there, brother?
Just Martin Beebe, just making a point that it'd be a horrible way to see Bannon go if it does come to that point where he is, effectively leaving. Joel's been back on again, just to say Bannon should leave for his own health.
It's making his hair fall out.
Well, he's been suffering for a long time, if you want to look at it like that. I know that Ash has been on, and I'll put this one up. Ash has been on and sort of said if they get paid in 14 days, I think it cancels the notice period. And that's I don't
know if that's true.
I think it may be. I think it becomes, and the reason that I've put it up, I think it becomes a little bit of a moot point. Craig Hayward has said, isn't it a 15-day notice period? So effectively, they're not paid in 15 days, off they go. I think we're at the point now where it doesn't matter if it's 14 days, 15 days, or 25 weeks. I don't see where the money's coming from. And I just think we're ticking off the next box, the next sort of situation.
I think we're living hand to mouth with the TV money. It gets paid 3 times a year, and I believe the first payment of that is due within a few weeks. And whether that's before the 15-day notice period or not, I think Joe endeavoured to try and explain it and said he was going to. In terms of if they get paid within that 14-day notice period, what would be the point of having a notice period? Do you know what I mean? They've already not been paid twice. What would be the point of having it if all of a sudden the chairman can then buy his way out of the issue and then have an unhappy player who's not been paid for 2 months? I feel it's literally, here's my notice, I'm off. And then in 2 weeks, they are contractually unobligated, but they're unobligated by their contract going forward. Because if you just go, let's say 3 players chuck in their notice and then Chansiri goes, all right, those are the 3 I pay first. Like, what's the point in having that process in place?
I agree. I get it. Matt's been on. If players are paid late twice, they can terminate their contracts even if they're paid in full late. So he's coming at that point from where Dan is. The only thing I'd say to that is I know the TV money's to come, and I've seen tonight it's mid-July, isn't it?
Is it?
I don't know how much that would cover the outline, because I don't think it's enough.
It's just shy of 10 million quid a year, and we need 5.
We need way more than that, don't we?
You know, we've got to cover. We've got to cover May. We've got to cover May. We've got to cover June. We've got to cover the tax, and we've got to cover the North Stand potentially. So there's 4 factors there that we're looking at, and whatever, we don't know how much the North Stand is going to cost. It could be anywhere between $500,000 and $6 million, depending on who you want to believe. I don't know what the tax bill is, and then we've got to cover whatever the wages. It's the TV money ain't just 2 sides.
Nah,
It's not a sale job anymore. It's a rescue job, isn't it? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a rescue job by somebody.
We are genuinely in trouble. By the way, this was the type of shit that I was trying to avoid talking about, but I'm going to do it anyway because somebody else has said it. Joey Smith from the Pompey fan says, Gatormack, who Milan sold Pompey to, all his money was a front for his father's gun running. When the father got arrested, all our money troubles began. That was threads I wasn't trying to pick up on, but I appreciate your candy there, Joe. Unscrupulous money earning. It's like it's not written down anywhere. It's weird, isn't it? All right, then. Does anybody have any other business before I wrap this up? Stevie, I've completely forgotten the rundown and I've lost all my notes.
We've done an hour and 10. I think we're good. Just a couple of bits. I know that we shared the Wednesday warehouse last week, and it's been very well received.
Yes.
For those of you that are in social media, ex Wednesday week family, the community, and you're not aware, myself and Ash went down to the new setup that the Wednesday warehouse have got down at Kelham and had a look at their stuff last Sunday. It's absolutely brilliant. Jump on our YouTube, have a look at the things that are down there. Get involved. Luke is a great bloke and has gone out of his way to over promote what we were doing there in terms of getting that coverage out. Dan, I'll blow smoke up your arse tonight. It was an absolutely fantastic edit that you did there to get everything going. Even if you did miss a couple of clips that we've ended up having to put out subsequently.
You didn't send them to me, and then all of a sudden they're all on our socials. I was like, "Where's this fucking clip from?" It's not.
He's not here tonight. Let's play a match. But no, it's a 17-minute video. It's been very well received, and we're very much looking forward to doing things. Very much looking forward to doing a few more bits like that. If there's anybody out there that would like us to come down and get involved in doing any sort of quick edits to sort of video, we'd be more than happy to come and get involved. Come and tell us your stories, and we'll get it out there. Again, big thanks to Luke and the Wednesday warehouse.
Yep. Charlie, how did your play go last week, by the way? I've not seen you after.
Amazing.
Was it good?
It was really fun, thank you. Yeah, really lovely week. There was a secret hidden niche bit of Easter egg. Like we had some women's football like banners up with like info about Sheffield's football and history, and whose sister should be mentioned for her contributions to historic women's football, but none other than Steph Spence herself, which was really awesome.
You didn't know that. We had the show afterwards, and Stevie didn't know that was going to happen. Was that you doing that? Was that you, or was it just a happy accident, or was it completely contrived?
Total happy accident. We had Ruth Johnson, who is fabulous. Go and look on my socials for stuff. There's doing loads of work with the Stoppage Time project. It's fantastic. It's all about like the lost history of women's football, considering it was made illegal for 50 years, and particularly she's covering a lot of stuff about Sheffield as well, specifically like Sheffield's football in history. And it just so happens that on some of the material she lent us that they're in black and white is awesome. Yeah, so it was really fun. Incredible. Really special story.
She texts me. I think we made a mention a couple of weeks ago or last week, whenever, and she went, "Thanks for the shout out." And it's a very proud moment to know that.
So is your sister like some mega star in terms of women's history of football? Tell us the story, Stevie. Come on, let's play it out. Last 5 minutes. I'm intrigued.
I wouldn't say she's a megastar, but she ended up playing when she's a little bit older. But she played against a couple of the Lionesses. Is an image I shared it last at the Euros. She played against Millie Bright. She played. If she'd have been playing now, she'd have been playing pro football. Back in the day, she represented sort of England universities, like home nations and stuff. She was in. Oh, here she is. Hello. My sister's been on. She's watching. Look at her.
I tell you what, I've seen your sister in the flesh, and I wouldn't want to be.
She scares you to death.
She scares me to absolute death. She frightens the bejesus out of me. I am a big gobby northern knobhead. Apart from when Steph Spence is around, I'm like, "Hello, Steph. Are you all right? How are you going? Are you all right? Can I get you a drink or something? Some kind of beverage?"
God bless her. Love her to bits, and for all the crap that we go through when it comes to this football club, me and her have had season tickets for the last 3-4 years. And because we're so busy and we're doing other things, we must have spent 10, 15 years just saying hello and text messaging. But now we make a point of, match days at home are family time, and it's to sort of put a little bit of a serious spin on it. The stuff that's happening at the minute, we pay a lot of money to go and do what we're doing, but when people are going, oh, let's boycott, it's hard to boycott. I'll take my daughter, my sister takes her nephew, we get together, it's the only time in the week, because we're so busy, that we get to spend time with each other, and that's the thing. So it's hard,
and that's what makes this.
I think that's difficult. The thing, isn't it? When people look at football clubs, they just look. What is it being a fan of a football club? It's not just looking at it on TV and seeing all the fans in the stands, isn't it, and watching the game and that. It's all that what Steve was just mentioning, all there, how you became the fan, and it runs through your family, and then it passes on to your kids, and all the meetups that you do, whether you're just homers or whether you go to away matches as well, and your routines and your bars and your drinks and your stuff at half time. That's the fabric of the club, and that's why it's so horrible what's going on right now, because it's not just Sheffield Wednesday and let's go and watch a game of football. It's a community of fans that have been passed down generations for over 150 years, moving from one part of the city to another, and it just needs somebody to come in and sort it out, because you can't let something so special like that get ruined by one individual. Something needs to happen, and it needs to happen soon.
John, how long have you been doing this podcast?
About 2 or 3 years.
I thought you were doing longer than that, but that is genuinely the best thing you've ever said on here. That was absolutely spot on. That was perfect. I don't mean that as a dig. That was absolutely spot on. I'm going to leave that at the end of this show on the final John-o-log of the evening. Thanks a lot for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. And for the last time this week, see you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday Week, bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday Week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday Week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your